We aren't afraid of taking risks or doing what no one else is doing. We are a group of great people doing great things. Since 1988, we have been pioneering a new way in HVAC solutions, and we want to share our stories with you. This is a deeper look inside AAON.
Welcome to another episode of Inside AAON. My name is Derby, your host, and with me, like always, my partner in crime, Winnie Tapp. Winnie, say hola.
Hola.
We're here to talk about AAON's renowned lab, the NAIC. And our two guests for today, they know everything about the NAIC. Kasey Worthington and Dan Rhoades.
Good to be here.
Thank you so much for being here, and welcome to Inside AAON.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Well, before we go too far into it, I want you to join us and watch some backstage footage of the NAIC.
Yeah, a little sizzler.
A little sizzler.
There's very few people that manufacture equipment as large as we do at the volumes that we do. We wanted to have a testing facility that would allow us to test all aspects of thermal, airflow performance, and acoustical performance.
This was an opportunity to have the facilities to match the team. We've always been innovative, and we knew that to stay on top of innovation, we needed a facility.
To bring customers in, to interact with our customers, to understand their problems, their issues, their needs, so that we could develop equipment that met those needs and systems for their buildings that meet those needs. On the east side of the building is our chamber base. There's actually 8 in this building and 2 located in kind of an annex off the building.
And they basically simulate the environment around the piece of equipment so that we can simulate anything from -20 to 130 degrees.
So we can simulate environments from Arizona to Houston or New Orleans, all the way up to the Arctic.
We can test all kinds of humidity, dry climate, wet climate.
You know, we can even make it snow in here in the middle of August when it's 100 degrees outside.
Basically, we can create almost any environment in the world inside these rooms. In our sound test facility, we try to get how many watts of sound is being produced. And by giving that reliable information to acoustical engineers, they can calculate what they expect the sound to be in the occupied space.
On a projects where they're really concerned about sound, they're really concerned about it. It's an opera house or it's a movie theater or something like that. If they mess it up, it's very expensive to fix. So they want to be ensured that the sound levels that we say it's going to produce, that it's going to produce those.
So the building, when you first walk up to it, it seems extremely tall, which it is. It's 65 foot to the peak of the building.
You know, I think first when you approach the building, you notice the scale of the building. It's enormous.
You know, we're pushing 130 to 140,000 square foot.
Most people are usually shocked. To actually have it all come into full design has been kind of neat to see it.
We have built chambers that far exceed the capacity of what's out there.
Most of our competition, you know, can test up to an air conditioner that's 63 tons. Well, we can test an air conditioner that's up to 300 tons.
There is no other laboratory in the world that can test thermal performance, airflow performance, and acoustical performance simultaneously at these capacities.
At my age, I've been nearing retirement for quite a long time. And as I started getting there, I started thinking, what could I do for AAON that give it a lasting lifetime? And we finally, after a lot of studying, concluded that we had to go and just start all over and build a dedicated laboratory.
This is the high point of my career, is to be involved in developing and starting up and getting this thing running. It's a great way to go out.
Wow, truly an amazing facility. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah, really impressive.
Yes, yes. So let's go with the introductions a little bit. Kasey, do you want to get us started? What do you do at AAON and what you were doing back in the day and what are you doing now?
So I'm currently a product manager, but I worked up from being in the R&D lab well before the NAIC existed, and ended up working my way through the lab, doing a lot of product development. Ultimately got the chance to work on the NAIC, as we'll talk about here in a little bit, and worked in my way up to product management. It's been really fun to kind of be able to see the whole life cycle of the product from where it gets kind of cranked on to the part where it gets launched into the market.
How long you been at AAON?
13 years.
Nice. So you have seen a lot gone. I have. Nice. I've been at AAON for about 11 years and a half. How about yourself?
About 10.
10?
12.
12.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. Well, quite a bit. All of us.
Got all tenure here.
Yeah. Dan, tell me more about you. What do you do at AAON?
Well, like I said, I've been here for 12 years. I started doing direct production support as a line engineer, and then moved into the R&D group, was working with Kasey in the old lab. And then a couple years ago, I took over as the lab manager for Kasey. And you know, I like to say I made it what it is today and made all the improvements since Kasey left. But no, there's been a lot of iterative improvements and working together. And I spent most of my time, like I said, in the R&D world, and it's been a lot of fun.
Great. That's awesome. So let's go back to when things started. You were in the room when the conversation got going, the concept of the NAIC, and you were given, at the age of 29, $30 million to partner with no other than Mark Fly to develop these. Tell us...
$30 million?
$30 million at 29.
At 29.
Well, let's be exact here. It was $32 million.
Oh.
32. Okay.
32. Nobody would trust you with that.
Nobody should trust me with that. Tell me, how did it go?
Well, it started well before I obviously got the cash in hand to get started. Probably about 5 years prior to that, a lot of the engineering team at AAON got together and really started working on the concepts and design of the lab. It's completely designed in-house. As you can imagine, you can't go find a contractor or a builder that really knows how to build a lab, especially something like the NIC. So a lot of it was done in-house, design work, and really done by a lot of people that still exist today at AAON that have worked their way up in the company. So, but even prior to the 5 years, there was the kind of the idea and concept of what it was supposed to be with Mark and Norm Asbjornsen. I can tell you I have so many napkin drawings and sketches of the lab being all over the campus in Tulsa. I think it's been from the far east side to the far north side. I think there's even some property we don't even own today. So,
or yet
own today. Yeah, exactly. So we did a lot of that conceptual work in the beginning stages, and then really got to cranking once we kind of figured out where it was going to land.
So when you were in these beginning stages, what were some of the must-haves, the absolute, you need this in the lab?
Well, with a little bit of the norm behind us was the one and only is what he wanted, right?
I was going to ask you right there. How was it working with Norm that he doesn't like to just do it? He wants to be the best.
Absolutely, which is a lot of fun as an engineer, right? He's like, it seemed like money and time were not an option, even though they really are. But he wanted the best in the world, and one of those is the sound chamber. So we set out after doing that, and it's really the crown jewel. It's kind of what set the stage of the layout of the NIC. But when we did that, we hired a sound consultant to design the room, and of course he designed it with a big concrete block, which is the best for sound. So our engineers had to go in and cut holes in it to allow us to get people in, equipment in, and flow air in and out of the thing. So that's kind of how it all started.
It was very quiet, just wasn't accessible. Nice. So that's kind of like the history of the background. Tell us a little bit about what does it look like today? How has it evolved?
Absolutely. So we've gone from doing a 5-day-a-week schedule that was 10 hours a day. Now we operate 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, just like the AAON production schedule. That's how, so we can keep up with the needs and demands of the market and push forward.
So you're telling us they were kind of slacker back in the day?
100%. This all goes to the Dan improvements as we moved on through time. And with that, we're trying to push that envelope even more and figure out how we can automate certain things and how can I just really maximize that test time. I'm a little worried they're not going to give me any more chambers till I start running 24 hours a day, so we're pushing towards that.
How many people work at the lab?
Oh, that is a great question that I should know off the top of my head. Under me, there are 63.
Wow.
And all told, I think there's about 84.
Wow.
But I do have another 6 open spots if there are technicians or engineers.
Whitney, you're looking for something?
There we go.
If you're looking for a job, you can apply at AAON.com.
There you go. So that being said, we're operating 7 days a week. We have both engineers and technicians, so we don't just go out there and say, all right, here's a series of tests. We want that testing to be agile, nimble, and be able to react very quickly, and that's why we bring it engineers and have them on staff, and whether that's the direct test engineers or the systems development engineers who've been designing and simulating the refrigeration, or the heating engineers, or certification for agency safety listings. And then we also have started bringing in new engineers. So if you come on to AAON, you start in the lab in a lot of cases as an engineer, and then we're trying to have these other groups, whether it's product management or design or manufacturing or really anywhere else, try to recruit from the lab. These engineers will come in fresh out of school, spend a couple years, and really know the nuts and bolts and the deep design philosophies of the refrigeration side and what AAON does, and then are able to grow. We've moved 21 engineers through this program and out to other groups within the company. And
I never thought of it, but yeah, as a training facility, cannot get better than that.
The only positive turnover I've ever heard of. Yeah, I cycle through a lot of guys, but at least they're not leaving the company. They're just growing. And I've been, like I say, I'll slowly seed people loyal to the lab throughout the whole company, and eventually be able to take over everything.
Like our very own Cody Jewell.
Yeah, there you go.
Cody Jewell,
Yes.
he started in the lab.
Great. So we talk about the lab itself, but could you tell us about what makes the lab? What are the ingredients?
Absolutely. So a lot of the nitty gritty, the core of the testing is the chambers that Kasey was able to design, specify, and build. So the sound chamber, which is not only able to do sound testing, but is also able to do psychrometric chamber testing, up to a 300-ton air-cooled unit if you want, or a 540-ton chiller. We have got different psychrometric rooms that'll go down to -20 and up to 130 and anywhere in between. So there are 2 20-ton psychrometric chambers that can be split into 2 10-ton chambers, so 4 total, or unsplit if we wanted to run them as one full chamber, a 50-ton chamber, a 100-ton chamber, a environmental room, which will do rain, snow, 50-mile-an-hour wind, and then 2 of our newest chambers were for 100% return, the SA or SB product that AAON makes, or some of our Longview product that has split systems could be tested in these chambers. So we've got wide variety of capabilities. I think Kasey was saying one of the reasons for going up so high is the current product listing requirements stop at 63 tons. So in the past, you're not able to really, or we haven't really been able to say, hey, we know what it does past the simulation. Now we can bring customers in and they can watch a test, and this is what we simulated, and this is what that product actually does, and here's the values for both, and kind of make the proof in the pudding, so to speak.
Dude, that's so awesome.
I got to tell you, the first time I walked into the NAIC, it was in the middle of the summer in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was a rep event, and I went into is that the environmental chamber? Yep. Yeah, and it was snowing. There was snow on the ground.
I remember that.
It's like,
everybody was having snowball fights.
Yeah.
Good to get you. I got hit in the first time I walked in. I could just see the snowball coming and hit me right in the face. It's a lot of fun. We've had news crews come out. We did they did a weather forecast in the middle of July in the Tulsa summer heat, and it was snowing in there, and it looked like a blizzard was going on.
Bunch of confused people.
100-degree heat wave coming through in July. So
wow,
it's been a lot of fun.
So you list all the stuff, and this all sounds pretty amazing. Is this standard? Is this what every manufacturer in the industry has?
So all manufacturers have some form of lab, like the NIC. The only difference is they tend to focus their efforts towards the regulated product.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
Regulated product typically only goes up to 63 tons, and above that, it's not regulated by AHRI. So they tend to focus a lot of their. It's not that they don't have capability, but there's a lot less capability at the higher tonnages. One of the key things when we were building the NIC, Norm really pushed that he wanted to be able to test anything and everything that AAON could produce, not only for our own personal benefit, but also to make sure that our customers really believe what we say. We believe it's very important to service our customers and be honest in the market, and it's really easy to forgo those if you don't have a way to prove it, and we're willing to stand behind our products.
And you guys have really will go all out for the customers. So like the mock-up room, for example, was one of the additions you guys
Mock-up
did.
room. I never heard of that one.
You haven't been there, the little office?
No. What is that?
It's an interesting. I'm
Yeah,
even
it's
using
cool.
it as a little office right now. But what we did is we had a customer come in and actually pay to. Well, they paid Kasey at the time. He was the
Getting all the
lab
money.
manager. at
You're
that
getting
time.
all the money back here.
Drinks on me after this.
There it is. There it is. And they paid, and basically it is a mechanical room and an office and a conference room right next to it. And we've got our sound chamber, which produces all sorts of good data, sound power, pressure, sound pressure, everything. But how does that apply to the real world? So this customer built this room using all their same construction material that they were going to put in a high-rise in New York. And as you can believe, it's quite a bit easier to build some stuff in Oklahoma as opposed to New York City. And we were able to put both AAON equipment in this room as well as a competitor unit and actually take sound recordings and even have customers or reps come in and be in the space. So when you're in an office and the mechanical room equipment turns on and there's air over the ductwork and different things like that, you can actually feel how that is in the space and how loud it is. And so we did a lot with that. During that testing, we got to work very closely with our design group and make active modifications to the equipment that we were testing to help optimize and really get to what we want. So a lot of times in the lab, what happens is we will modify a prototype design and then work directly with our design group, and they'll make it pretty. We'll make it work, and they'll make it actually look right and good for the customer long term. So it's a lot of
Talk
fun.
about going above and beyond for a customer.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that what that drives behind is we understand AAON provides just a piece of the system, the building system. And so by doing a test like that, working with our customers like that, it allows us to really showcase our product in the system that it'll actually be in. And also lets us understand how our little piece affects the overall piece of the whole system. And that's really the driving factor behind the NAIC and why it's an innovation center versus an R&D lab. It's very important that we have that kind of interaction with our end customers, with our contractors, with the building owners, all that above, so that way we are providing innovative solutions that are ready to go to market, not just really cool things that get done in the back room.
This is the first time I hear somebody say it's not a research lab, it's an innovation center. And that's really good. We need to talk a little more about that. But of course, we do research and development there. We do continuous improvement. We do testing for our customer. Kasey, you are in a little unique position in that you were part of the NAIC. Now you are on the product side. How do you guys leverage the NAIC on a day-to-day basis?
The greatest thing about the NAIC, it's one of the only labs that can really push the envelope of our equipment to the levels that we can, and being able to spec product and push those boundaries of that product and the components within it not only allow us to develop better product, but also give confidence to our customers. And by showing them that and inviting them in and really just opening the book to them that this is what we do and this is how we're getting to the product we have, they really value that. They don't want that product showing up at their doorstep and really being the field being the research lab. So we're able to really prove that out there in the NAIC.
And I think they really enjoy having the feedback during the testing. Every single time we've had customers come in, they're saying, hey, here's issues that we may have seen, or this is something we want to resolve that we've seen with other product that, is there something AAON does differently? And so they, it's a great place for them to get their opinions and wants and needs out to AAON directly. And so that's one of the other big positives of the customer witness testing that I've seen in the past.
So how has the NIC helped with the development of products like our Alpha class?
Absolutely. Well, just like Kasey was talking about a little bit ago, where he'd originally spec'd these chambers to go down to -20, that's really below anything that any of our AAON product could do, and even still, you were really pushing the envelope. So with these chambers, we're able to step down because, it's just physics. It's very difficult to pull heat out of the air when it is 10 degrees, 5, -10 and below. So with the chambers, the sensors, just the data monitoring that you're able to do, you can see, okay, how much am I really getting out of that unit at those extreme conditions, and am I operating within the safety envelope where this equipment's going to last and provide a good, long life, a reliable service for the customer? And then what do we do? And then my favorite part is how do I try to break it
Yeah.
to make sure it does stay in there.
I want that job. Can I apply for that?
She's really good at breaking things.
Yeah.
I kind of like to think, if you ever seen the TV show Mythbusters, we kind of get to be Mythbusters
Yes.
of HVAC.
Yeah.
So.
Hey.
We need to do something like that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Nice. So that's a lot about research and development and how we go a product, which, by the way, I think not only is it reflects on our quality and our innovation, but also our speed to market. Just being able to get feedback faster and you fail. You have to find different ways to do things. No, I'm sure that you guys don't design something and it works every time in the first try, right? So the speed to market, being able to have it right there at the lab where we can get feedback, helps a lot.
Speed to market is huge. It's one of the things that AAON's always been about. And you're right. If even one of our reps or our customers come up with an idea that maybe we don't quite have, we get that feedback very quickly. We get direct contact with the lab and the engineers, and we can get that going very quick and typically provide a solution faster than any of our competitors.
Oh yeah, in the past we've had Kasey was working as lab manager, and I was supervising the testing, and I keep my nice schedule of all the testing that's going to happen. And he came and said, Dan, you're going to shut down this testing, and we're going to pivot, and we're going to do this. And we were able to do so for a customer, and it was different than any testing we'd ever done. It was a lot. It was in the 100-ton with some units that were going on indoor agriculture facilities, and they had very specific wants and needs that were different than anything I was used to. So we had to work together to figure out different ways to even run our psychrometric test equipment to hit what they wanted. And that was, it blew up my whole schedule of what I thought I was going to be doing for the next couple months. But it's one of the things we do, and I make sure any engineer that I'm hiring to bring on is willing to be able to adapt and move and pivot to maintain the agility that AAON's kind of
being nimble and flexible.
Exactly.
That's one of the competitive advantage of AAON. The NAIC, the great engineers that we have, the phenomenal marketing, but also just the fact that we truly empower our team members. There is not red tape everywhere. If you want to make a change, if you want to try something, you got to take a risk. AAON is your place. You can do it. I remember working at the NAIC for a little bit, filming some stuff, and you guys were doing some tests on a heat exchanger, and you guys were going back and forth and making decisions. People right on the floor making decisions, not having to go through the bureaucracy or corporate in order to get it done. You just were nimble, fast, reactive, and speed of market and just empowering our people.
I think it's needed, and that's one of the reasons we want to bring new engineers into the lab so they get that mentality and they get that mindset. And, that's the other thing when I'm interviewing people is, hey, you're going to make mistakes. The biggest mark for success for me as a new engineer is, hey, I thought about what the issue was and I tried it. And when it didn't work, I'm seeking additional help is how I try to gauge it, because it's an R&D world, right? It's a cyclical process. You're going to provide feedback. And a lot of times if it's equipment we've never used, I may not know how it's going to react either. And so, we will test it and then feed that information back to the engineers who are developing or operating the project. And then they'll pivot, move, and evolve until we're able to provide a good product and it does what we want, and try to push the envelope and push the boundaries of what it's able to do.
Yeah. Excellent. I want to show you guys some footage from the NAIC a project that I was involved, and then you guys can tell me a little bit more. But, research and development is something that is backstage all the time. But one thing that I really appreciate about AAON is continuous improvement. Mm-hmm. So let's watch this really quick, and then I want to ask some questions.
Absolutely.
Today we have some reps here with us. They have provided some feedbacks that have drove some changes for us. We actually invited them out to do witness test of these units and see the design changes that they helped provide the feedback for.
On the drive over, we were nervous about have they done any tests on these units? But we came in, immediately saw the drip lips, bigger and at a different angle.
We've been designing our drip edges for years with a 45-degree angle, but because of surface tension of water, and when it gets to the end of the drip edge, it will actually run backwards based on customer feedback and then our R&D that we've done based on this project we're working on right now. We've actually changed the design of our drip edges.
This experience has been great to know that we're not just sending AAON complaints or issues and it falls on deaf ears. Steps are being taken to fix things, so it's great.
We get to test 4 different types of units today, and they're going to be the actual customers' units.
I guess I kind of envisioned coming in and having 1 or 2 guys walking us around, hey, you know, here's your units. But I mean, we were met, there was, I don't know, 12 people here, you know, passionately involved with what's going on.
The 3 phases that we went through today, the first one was just an initial inspection of the units, go over some of those design changes that were made. Second stage was the actual rain test.
We have the capability to drop 8 inches an hour of water, which is more than you should see in anything but the most extreme rainstorm.
After that, the third stage, we just wiped down the units, and then we just inspected the units, made sure there's no water inside of them.
We're talking with Ariel, and he's telling us everything that he's done, and you can tell that he's invested in it. That means a lot to us, and it's not just on these. He's going to implement those in future units.
I could tell that a lot of attention had been paid to the units to make sure that they met what our expectations were. So my expectations were far exceeded today.
Okay, so you watch that. Raining inside is fascinating. Not only raining, like the amount of rain. That's a really, it's pouring down.
It is, you know, I didn't have a good reference for 8 inches of rain an hour, but it is quite a bit of rain coming down. I mean, it's a torrential downpour, basically. And we've even got other setups where you can bring rain trees in and have rain coming up from the side if you want, and have a little bit of modification. You know, is that rain, you know, in a, I don't know, hurricane or, you know, other inclement weather conditions where you're seeing that, you know, rain doesn't necessarily just fall directly straight down.
Okay, so educate me a little bit. What I saw there was units getting wet by rain. What were you trying to accomplish here?
As you can imagine, units sitting on a rooftop are going to need to be waterproof. If you have rain coming through, that could potentially damage your building, different things like that. So we had a customer who'd, I guess, experienced some issues with that and wanted to provide feedback, and had worked with our design team to say, hey, we want to have a little bit of a rain guard here and different modifications to the equipment. So we made that change, or our design team made that change, and we helped install it. And then we brought those pieces of equipment out, arranged them through the lab, hit them with as much water as we could, and then opened them up and tried to see, you know, do we have water anywhere, and you know, do that kind of back and forth with our design group to make sure it was providing a quality product.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is this really sets the stage of what the NAIC is all about, and about the relationships it allows us to connect, right? We build a ton of permutations of our product, which is what AAON's all about. And of course, we had a rep and a customer that experienced some issues. Obviously, we want to fix that for them, but they're so willing to work with us. They collect that information, they provided it back to us as quickly as possible. We tried to make the change, and then we basically iterated on that and made sure that we could provide great product out the door. And that right there, that without the NAIC and without that culture of engagement with the rep and with the customer, you don't have that. So that's what it's all about.
We have, and I honestly say, we have the best rep force in the industry.
Yeah.
They are willing to collaborate with us. They're willing to give us feedback. It's an advantage that we have. Okay, guys. So I'm gonna have to have you guys back. This is just gonna be the first part of this NAIC episode. Stick around, let's take a break, and then continue. And to our audience, stay tuned for part 2.